What's up, everybody? So, last night we do the experiment with players in all different positions because I had a feeling that based on how players felt, there just wasn't enough identity, and I thought, I don't think attributes mean as much as people think. I mixed the players up, and as I thought, Van de Ven's doing great at winger, at striker. Lukaku's doing just as good as Udogie at left back. Rashford, Endrick are doing just as good as any of the top center backs. The dribbling, despite super low stats for some of these center backs, they felt just as good as any winger on the ball. The whole nine, right? I would say the biggest two things that were affected were, one, the goalkeeper all around. You could absolutely tell when a field player was in goal, okay? And then the second thing was the shooting from, say, outside the box, whether it was a finesse shot or a low-driven shot, things like that. Now, once you got inside the box, as you can see in my previous video, the shooting was all but the same, right? I scored plenty of the typical drive the inline, pass it to the middle, finish, and also hit the crossbar a few times on some tougher shots as well. But I would say that the biggest thing was I couldn't just line up a ball with Van de Ven outside the box and get the type of finesse shot, say Mbappe or Son, or a low-driven shot like CR7, or a snap shot like Lautaro Martinez, right? But as far as feeling in the game, like the build-up, the dribbling, the passing, stats meant zero. And I know that if I go into a game with another player, the first thing people are going to say, well, that's the user's fault, right? Anything I do in a game with another player, as far as testing this, what we saw last night out, and talking about the gameplay as well, it's just going to be, well, that was that player you're playing against, that was his fault, or that was because of you. So I came up with an irrefutable test, as you've seen in the title. We are going to let the game's own AI show us, not only what is wrong with the players and not having an identity and why attributes mean nothing, and I'll show you how we're going to prove that. And two, in the process of doing that, we're going to see some of the biggest things that make this game a mess right now. Point blank. Because I want the game to get back at least somewhat to where it was, because that was when it was fun. I want a reason to actually play this game and compete and have fun again. And even though there's going to be some players in the comments that say, just quit if you don't like it, or the game is fun, man, if you don't, I get that there's some players that like it. It's wild to me, right? But I can't just rest on that, because the facts are the facts, and I'm showing you what's wrong with the game. Not to mention a vast majority of the comments, not just on my channel and other channels on Reddit, they all tend to agree with my side of things, right? And you can see it in the player base too, right? And even if you don't know the numbers, you could probably just tell by how long it's taking to, get games, how many players you're playing the same time, same player over and over and over. These things aren't hard to tell. So, yes, I get it. There's always going to be those comments saying, just leave the game if you don't like it. It's not that I don't like it. I'm just pointing out the things that are going to drive this game to the dirt. No different than many players did with FC, and then look what happened to FC. They finally listened to the player base and turned it around. That is my goal here. These things that I'm pointing out are just God's honest truth going to ruin the game. They already have, but at this point, it's still fixable. There's still enough players to play the game. So if you're one of those players that's saying, well, I like the game how it is, I don't get why you're complaining, that's awesome. I don't know how, but it doesn't matter. If you like it, you like it. You can't help what you like, right? So keep playing, keep enjoying it, but it doesn't mean that I'm just going to ignore these issues, or that anybody else should either, because these are glaring issues that are going to need to be fixed, especially when there's competitors out there with much, much better products right now. So, with that being said, here is what I did. First half, I went into a game versus myself, but both teams had the exact same messed up lineups. Just so it wasn't same formation against same formation, I went with my defensive, and the opponent went with my regular 4-3-3 attack. So I was 4-3-3 defensive. They were 4-3-3 attack. Both teams had players in all messed up positions. All right? It was on hard difficulty, 4-minute halves. Play out the 4-minute half. I'm going to point out some things. Then, in the second part of this, you are going to see my team versus my team again, right? I'm controlling one side, the AI is controlling the other, but this time the AI team is going to totally be in correct positions, not one player out of position, whereas I will remain in my same 4-3-3 defensive with every player out of position. And we are literally going to compare the two sides. We're going to see if it makes any difference, if you can legitimately see a difference in, for instance, Van de Ven at striker compared to Lukaku at striker. Now, right off the bat, I want to point out something that you are going to see throughout all of the gameplay, and that is both teams are set on 4 bars balanced depth and 4 bars balanced width. And watch right away where the defense goes back to. This is on balanced depth and balanced width. So, what a rat will do, which many of the players still playing UFL are 100% rats, they will notice the broken defense, they will see what the defense does on balance, and they will go, wow, I can still bring my team back another 3 bars. I can still make my defense more narrow by another 3 bars. And then they will bring 2 to 3 to maybe even 4 midfielders back, and you'll essentially be controlling the game the entire time in and around the box, where build-up doesn't even matter, because once you get to the box, you're going to just have user-controlled midfielders chasing you around, and if you happen to get through that, you're going to have a wall of defenders. Now, for those of you, which I know many of you realize how broken the defense is, but for those of you who say, you just have to learn to beat it, it's part of the game, it's just park the bus is part of it. For one, this isn't even park the bus. It's a whole nother level of park the bus when the user brings their defense all the way back and then just uses their midfielders and doesn't even touch their defense. For 2, in football video games, there's precedence to show how this will ruin a game and why so many players will quit and leave, and we can't have that, especially in a new game that needs the player base to survive. Literally, it's not a yearly release. There's no money to buy the game each year. The player base, and a large player base, is what this game needs to keep ticking. It's what we as players should want, and we've seen before what happens when this kind of defense is in the game, because who's going to just keep controlling 70, 75% of the game, 8, 10, 12 shots to 1, and not get a winning result? And even if they did get a 1-0 win maybe, or tied 1-1 and didn't even lose the game, how much fun is that, especially when there's 2 other games where you don't have to deal with that? It is an issue, and you're going to see it over and over, and this is exactly what happens. Teams go in, this is me controlling my defense, not trying to park the bus at all, and I'm on balance, and look how far back my defense sits. It's insanity. It was not like this at early release, or at regular release even, but I started playing at early release, and it was perfect. The manual defense on top of the spacing. You hear myself and many others talk about it over and over and over again. I couldn't for the life of me guess why UFL went to this. Maybe it's because too many casuals were finding it difficult to defend. That's the only thing I could think of. But they just went way overboard. You could still tend to the casuals and make it less manual, right? While not totally breaking the defense and making it so outrageous that it's literally not even fun to play your game anymore, because there's no point in the attack. There's no excellent through balls leading to goal, or all these nice build-up passing sequences to get through on goal and end up with a finish. You literally can do whatever you want up until the box, and then, boom, the game dies. And guess what? That's where the goals are scored. That's where the most fun is had. That's where you win games or lose games. And that's where the game is totally messed up. So, moving on from that, just pay attention to that in the back of your mind. It is throughout the whole game. You're going to see that this is on balance. Whether it's AI defense or even my defense, when I'm not controlling players, are sitting at the penalty box in balanced. It's insane. Not to mention balanced width, and there's 4 of them almost holding hands. It's insanity. It's terrible. How UFL got to this, I don't know, but they need to fix it ASAP. That's first and foremost. Now, moving on. I want to address a few comments again. I know this is like 1% of people, but there's a few comments that were around the likes of, well, it's good that the players can play in diverse positions. That's awesome. And, well, players play multiple positions in real life all the time. Okay, this is not that. Let me explain. As you guys watch Van de Ven in the attack and you see the explosion he has with the ball, keep in mind these stats. Acceleration, for one, is 78. Sprint speed, 94, but acceleration, 78. He is explosive as Mbappe, if not more explosive. Haaland, all these guys. Go look at their acceleration. Now, shooting, Van de Ven, 37 finishing. Long shots, 34. Shot power, 68. And attacking positioning, 47. His passing awareness, 56. Crossing, 55. Pass accuracy, 64. And his free kicks don't matter, but they're 43. Now dribbling, 52. Agility, 60. Reactions, 74. Ball control, 62. And here's a good one, composure, 85. Now, let's compare that to Lukaku. Acceleration and sprint speed are both 82. Finishing, 91. Penalties, 88. Shot power, 83. And positioning, 83. His passing, 63 awareness. Crossings, 56. Pass accuracy, 76. Dribbling, 71. Agility, 76. Reactions, 82. Ball control, 81. And composure, 86. So just finishing alone, Lukaku is plus 54, and in positioning, attacking positioning, he is plus 36 over Van de Ven. Now, you go ahead and tell me if that's what you saw, not just in my previous video, but in this half. We saw the AI, right? Now, keep that in mind when you watch the AI Lukaku in the attack instead of Van de Ven, now that we're going to be in the correct positioning. Tell me if that looks like Romelu Lukaku has plus 19 attributes in dribbling, or plus 19 attributes for Lukaku in ball control, or even the plus 16 in agility. Now how about defensively? Endrick felt as good as any center back I had, and he has 44 tackles, 40 interceptions, 68 heading, and his defensive positioning is 49. Compare that to, I don't know, let's even go with a little bit lower rated. Let's look up John Stones. Not even a top rated center back, but let's take a look at him. So again, he's not a 91 Van de Ven. He's an 85 rated. This is his base version. He's got 89 tackles, 81 heading, 88 interceptions, and 94 defensive positioning. That's an 85 rated John Stones, and I can tell you this, Endrick was every bit as good, and you guys can watch back the first game. You guys can watch in this game when he's playing center back for me. There is no difference in an Endrick at center back than, let's say, a John Stones, or even, as crazy as it sounds, the best center back in the game, a Van de Ven. Now, would I choose Van de Ven over Endrick? Absolutely. But you heard those stats. There is no way Endrick should be as good at center back as he is, with 44 tackling and 49 defensive positioning, as well as 40 interceptions. Another one of the comments was something along the lines of, well, they do still make tackles. Like, if they line up a good tackling game, of course they should make it. Guys, listen to those stats and then watch how they play. You tell me that they should be making this kind of tackles, defending this kind of way, even just the positioning alone. They did not put a foot wrong at all. No different than the other top-rated center backs with top defensive positioning and top interceptions and so on and so forth. All the way around. We could get into passing. We could go on and on and on. But when you watch this game, just on the AI side, because I get it, you can easily say, well, you were controlling the players how you wanted the game to look or whatever. I get it. Just on the AI side, you cannot watch this game and say, all right, this AI team fully in position is way better than the AI team with players fully out of position. There's no way. You can watch it back as many times as you want, and you will see that, especially when you consider the stats. Pull them up on UFL Scout, which is what I did, as you're watching both games. You can even fast forward, rewind, and watch them side by side in certain sequences when, you know, a winger has a ball or a striker has a ball or a defender's making a tackle, and you will see that despite the crazy difference in stats, that the players play very close to each other, very similar in effectiveness, right? So with that being said, what I am trying to say is attributes. I'm not saying they totally mean zero, but they do not mean nearly enough. There has to be a difference in these players and how they play in these different positions, because that is what makes the game so stale, on top of the broken defense and other issues, right? Once you open up the defense, even that would be a huge improvement, first and foremost above what I'm talking about now. So I wanted to make that clear. But after that, you still have a big issue if you don't address what I'm talking about, because when you play this game and you have players in different positions, what gives the games a unique feel is the identity of the different players. For instance, when I play FC, I know when I get a Neymar on my team how good he is going to be because he has that unique ability. I know what Maradona brings, right? I know when I have a Van Dijk as opposed to, let's say, I don't know, a Cordoba or a Cannavaro, one of those smaller, agile center backs, or even a Koundé compared to a Van de Ven. I know when I have a Zidane at cam, the difference between him and, let's say, a Zico, right? I could go on and on and on, but every player has their own unique ability. I know when I have Mo Salah on the right wing as opposed to an Olise. Very different types of players. A Rafael Leao on the left side as opposed to, you name your tiny, more agile left winger, right? A Haaland at striker as opposed to a Butragueño. Go look if you don't know some of these legends that I'm naming. I'm just talking about players that are either on my team or that I face or that have a very big difference in play styles. You can tell, even if they're in the same position. We are talking about players that don't have any business playing in these other positions, especially when you look at their stats alone, yet look how good they perform. Now, FC, I'm talking about players in the same positions, and look how good you can see the difference between each player. It's easy. You don't even have to see the player models, and you would know a Haaland or a Ronaldinho or a Butragueño or a Maradona, and on and on and on. Every single player has their own identity. Now, is UFL as deep into existence as EA Sports FC? Absolutely not. So they don't have to be identical or right on the same line even, but they absolutely cannot be where they are as far as all of these players performing like they do. The attributes and the fact that what I read to you is the attributes in Van de Ven's attacking like he is or Rashford's defending like he is, that is unacceptable. The game shouldn't even have been released like this. But the thing is this, there are so many other things, and when there's a new game, you want to give a game of the benefit of the doubt. However, once you play hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games, these things start to be discovered. And it's no different than EA Sports being called out over the years for all the different things. They get discovered over time. And this is just one of those things, is as you're playing more and more games and it's getting that stale feeling and you're trying to put your finger on why, this kind of stuff comes out. And that's exactly what it will continue to be, because there is no identity. There's no difference between the players. The very first mistake they made that keyed this for me, and many others said this too, is that every single player can do every single move and just as fluid on those moves, right? Like if I do a 360 spin or whatever they call it, right? I know there's different versions of it, but you get what I'm saying. Or a rainbow or whatever, a sombrero flick. They will be the same whether I do it with a Van de Ven or a Salah or an Mbappe or a Udogie. All of the players have the same smoothness. That's what triggered me, on top of the fact that when I'm dribbling, when I'm passing, right? When I'm shooting, whatever, it is very similar between any player. But I had no idea that it would be this much, though. I thought there would definitely be glimpses of, okay, there's no identity with these players. Like I said in my lead-up video when I was telling everybody my experiment and asked who should I try where. But it was way worse than I thought, as far as like some of the players out of position just felt immaculate, and then you look at their stats and it's like, okay, this is bad. So that is my point. It doesn't have to be right on par with FCBs. They're way ahead of the game, right? UFL's not in the same boat. If people say that, they're just crazy, and I know there's some that say it, but if you want to think that, if you feel that way, okay. I'm not saying that UFL has to have players that are as unique to each player as FC has right now, right? But they absolutely need to make the attributes more meaningful. You cannot have any of these players. I keep using Van de Ven. I'll continue to use him. You cannot have Van de Ven attacking with 30s and 40s stats and finishing the ball off and in dribbling as good as he does and exploding past defenders, making passes like he is, and in being in the right position with like 38 positioning. You can't do that. Same with Endrick on defense or whoever. It could be any player. You need to make the attributes mean more, and therefore you'll give each player more of an identity. Then you continue to progress from there. But right now, you're in the gutters as low as you can go with both player identity being so similar that attributes mean next to nothing, as well as the broken defense. Those two things, amongst others, need to be addressed ASAP. Like, you're already late to the party on addressing those. Get them done so we can try to start enjoying your game again. Thank you. Please, 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 and thank you, strikers. So, for the rest of you, hope this video made sense. I know I'm fired up, but it's because I want this game to succeed. So, keep grinding, keep having fun, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.